everybody, to another week of the Wealth Webinar Series. I appreciate all of you being here, and I appreciate all of you spending the time to be the 5%ers. As you all know, out of 100 people, only 5 of them, or 5%, are going to be financially successful, and we're tracking. I'm going to write a book on this someday with Jeff here. He's going to do the morning routine, the rise, fight, love, and repeat. And I'm going to basically write the book as to why the 5% are the creators that go out there and make it. And I bet you the 5% that I'm always talking about are the same 5% that have some type of a morning routine, which we're going to hear about, from Jeff, who wrote the book. And, I'll get into that a little bit, but, thank you all for joining us today. This is going to be an awesome episode today. We're going to have a lot of fun. And, our guest today is Jeff. His book, it's Wickersham, Jeff Wickersham. I said that right? I always butcher last names. His book is called Rise, Fight, Love, and Repeat. Ignite Your Morning Fire. I highly recommend all of you get this book. And why do I recommend it? Number one, it's an easy read. But number two, I read this on a plane, and I literally aggressively, and I never do this, I just took notes after notes. And he's got this section, Ignite Your Fire, where you write down, your takeaways from that chapter. If you go through my notes here, you'll see each time I put more and more notes. You just get so caught into this. Look at this. I'm even, writing this here. Tell your mind what to expect. Prepare your mind. How many of you prepare your mind in the morning? How many of you go through a morning routine? Let's see it. In the chat, I want to know how many of you actually have a morning routine that you do every single morning before you kick off your day. Say I if you have a morning routine in the chat. So let's see who we're working with here, Jeff. Started today. We got a couple I's. We got Michael, Angie, Paul. Most days. Okay. Most days isn't all days, but good. It's a good start, Ron. Let's see. Whoa. I have it. So a lot of people have a morning routine. Mark needs to get a morning routine. Okay. Most days, 6 to 7. That's pretty darn good, man. Look at this. Trying to get one in place. All right. So we got lots of morning routines. So I don't want to steal your fire, but I didn't have a morning routine. I thought I did. I mean, every morning my routine was I dropped to my knees and I thanked God for the day. And then I did anywhere between 20 and 50 push-ups. That used to be my morning routine until I read this book. I thought I had a morning routine, and I read this book, and the things in this book were so simple, so right in front of my face, that all I needed to do was add 1 or 2 steps. How many of you have ever heard us talk about adding 1 step to your life, changing just one thing, and that one change changes everything? We call it the financial butterfly effect. Well, the same thing happens for your morning routine. So Jeff, I welcome you to the Wealth Webinar Series, and I want to kind of turn it over to you and just kind of have you take everybody on here through a journey. We should have a little over 100 people. If our numbers are right, the 5%ers should come out. And let's teach them something here about this.
Absolutely, Chris and Stephen. Thanks for having me. Grateful to be here. So, related to the morning routine, I'll tell you a little bit of a backstory about me, so you know where I'm coming from. Everybody on the show today, I appreciate you joining. And really, my journey started 6.5 years ago, and I spent about 20 years in corporate America. And then, unfortunately, 6.5 years ago, I had the unfortunate passing of my mother. She battled breast cancer on and off for 17 years. It came back 3 times. And when I saw her take that last breath, it fundamentally changed me at the core, right? It was a punch to the gut, cut at the knees. You see the woman that brought you into the world leave this world. It causes you to question everything, right? And the days, the weeks, the months ahead, I really questioned what was my purpose, what did I want to do? And that quickly morphed into going out as an entrepreneur. And then after I opened my gym business, it grew organically into high performance coaching. And I didn't have the correct routines, habits, and rituals that were truly setting me up for success. So I became a sponge, right? Podcasts, books, coaches, courses, mentors, you name it. I absorbed it. And that's where I came back with, what does the bookend of your days look like? What's that last 30 minutes of the day look like? How do you prepare for success in the morning, which is a critical step that a lot of us miss? And then what's that first 30 to 45 minutes in your day look like? And that's where the 4-step morning fire methodology, the rise, fight, love, repeat was truly birthed. And one, it fundamentally changed me as a person, my family and my friends, my wife, my children, just different from showing up, taking care of myself first, and then you show up better all year round, all around you. So it's been an incredible journey. I love it. I eat, sleep, and breathe it on a daily basis, right? I'm a practitioner. I'm not reading out of a book. I do this each and every day. So it's just a passion, true passion of mine.
Fantastic. Stephen, you got a morning routine?
Yeah, coffee.
What else?
I've been working on it. It's funny because I had done this thing over the summer, over a few months back. We did a 5 a.m. 6-week challenge where we got up at 5 a.m. 5 days a week and kind of did some self-development reading and getting on and really just knocking work out of the way first thing when I wasn't bothered by phone calls and meetings and webinars and schedules and podcasts and things like that. And right around then is when I first met Jeff and spoke with him for the first time. I think we were discussing money multiplier, if I'm correct, Jeff, about that. And I found out what you did and I was like, this is amazing. So I actually downloaded your book on Kindle. I think it's part of Kindle Unlimited. Mm-hmm. Am I correct on that?
Yes, I think it is.
Yeah. So I went on there to buy it and I actually was able to download it for free because I have the Kindle Unlimited membership or whatever. So I read through it. I mean, it's a quick read, it took maybe a week or two to get through it. And I, unlike Chris, since it was on Kindle, I didn't have the notes in the book, but I have a note on my phone. I do everything on my phone with the notes and it hooks right to my computer. So I have a whole thing on all the notes from your book. And I rarely do that with books. So it's definitely really good stuff. And, I'll admit that I do get away from it myself sometimes. My discipline, especially right now, is summer and my son's off school and my wife's a teacher. So her schedule is all different now. And so it's kind of one of those things you really have to force yourself to stay disciplined, especially when the people, your family and your life are changing a little bit. So I fell off a little bit, I would say, over the last week or so, but I'm focusing back starting today, actually this morning and getting back into it. So it's amazing the difference though. Like when it comes around to like 7, 8 a.m. and you're like, man, I've already got this much done for the day. It's like, it makes you just feel so much better about the rest of the day. And yeah.
And Jeff, one thing I want to talk a little bit about is in the first chapter, you talk about your internal hero's journey. And I had a couple things underlined. It said the same thing applies to your thoughts. If you're positive and focus on good things, your brain will seek them out. But if you're focused on negativity, your brain will also focus on them and bring them out. And I can tell you just this morning. So I did my morning routine as usual. I had my clothes set out. I actually switched. I don't know if anyone noticed, but I don't have a black shirt on. It's kind of weird for me. Like I put a different colored shirt on. So it was hard for me to pick clothes out last night because I was thinking, all right, my normal routine is just black jeans, black shirt. And I went with a white shirt, but I had it all set out and I go through and then I'm on my way to get the coffee. And my wife says, stop at the post office and drop off a package. And I'm like, oh, great. I got to mail a book out to somebody. So I go in the post office, I mail her package. I put the book down on the scale on one of those little, self kiosk things. I put my credit card in, I paid the $2.60 and I hear, that little sound when it's supposed to drop your postage and no postage came out. Now listen, I know all of you are going to laugh. It's $2.60. I should have just been like, no big deal. But you know what? I focused on negativity for at least the first 3 hours after that. My only sole focus was call the post office, bitch and complain that their dumb machine didn't give me my postage. I should have just let it go at 260, but it ruined my morning because that's all I focused on was negativity. Then trying to call the airlines and spending an hour on hold to get nowhere except for a 5-hour wait. And then they just call me back at 1. So there's a lot to be said about that. My whole morning was ruined because of that one negative event that really, I don't know, how could I have changed that? Because I'm sure a lot of people, Jeff, start a morning and, one thing happens, they read a bad email. It's like a negative email or they go on social media, God forbid, and, they get one of those haters or those trolls coming out, or something like, what happened to me hit you. And, it's not planned, it's not foreseen, but it happens. How do you avoid those kind of things?
Great question. And I love your example. And it's so telling, right? That you experienced it and went through it today. And I say, when you wake up, I have a method, no distractions, right? No distractions, no texts, no emails, no social media, because of that fact, right? Of what you fell into today. And there's something called the negativity principle. And it's basically our minds are hardwired to amplify any negative emotion or perceived negative event 9 to 10 times more than a positive event. Why is that? Well, we've evolved as a human species, but our brains, they call it the caveman brain sometimes, still thinks we're in the cave and there's a saber-toothed tiger out there ready to kill us. So anything perceived or taken as negative, the mind amplifies it. That's why we stay stuck on those things. That's why you did for 2-3 hours, right? And then something else happened. And imagine doing that first thing when you wake up. And so many times I say, when you wake up and you decide to take on a morning routine, the morning fire routine, you are taking control back of your life. You're not giving it up to anybody else. You're not giving it up to your mind to perceive something that might be negative and take you down that rabbit hole. So one of the things I love to coach on is a 3-minute rule. All right, so this happened to you, Chris. Set your timer on your phone for 3 minutes. Hit that start button, scream, cuss, do whatever, throw punches in the air, get emotional, get a little aggressive about it. Once that alarm goes off, crumple it up and just throw it out into the universe and be like, I'm done with this. I'm making the conscious choice to move forward and not let it ruin my day. And just the fact of doing that, you can get out that negativity and you can move on.
Jeff, I got one question to that.
Yeah.
I know, we're all trying to build our brand and build our followers on various social media sites. I mean, when you have that 3 minutes of punching in the air, screaming and doing whatever you just mentioned, do you ever video that and just put it out? Even if it's on your Insta stories, right? It's only good for 24 hours. That must go viral.
I haven't yet, but that's a good idea. I think the next time it happens, I'm just going to set it up and go after it. But think about it. As adults, how often do we really scream or let that just visceral emotion out? And when you're doing that, you're going to change your state and then you're throwing it away. You're getting rid of it. And that's the trigger, the alarm. You're going to be able to move past it.
Yeah.
I usually have Chris bring me on a webinar and I just start hollering at the screen whenever I feel like that.
That worked last night, Stephen. I'm telling you, man, you were hooting and hollering the whole time. And I'm just like, let him go, man. Let him air this out. Cause there's
this question, Jeff, you're talking about when you wake up in the morning, getting it and throwing it out so it doesn't ruin your day. What are your thoughts on before you go to bed, kind of like eliminating all that before? So when you wake up, it's already out of your subconscious. Do you talk much about that?
Yeah. So definitely the night before preparing, right. And saying, hey, I'm getting 6 hours of sleep. I'm going to wake up on fire, full of energy, full of passion, full of excitement. And then right when you wake up, it's the hardest thing for people to get through because our phones are like the tractor beam from the Death Star, like pulling us in, right? But even if you have notifications of text messages, do not check it. Do not check your email. Do not check social media until you get that forward momentum of drinking a glass of water, working out a bit, meditating, all these quick wins. Don't check anything, because once you get that forward momentum, no matter what life throws at you, no matter if the post is eaten at the post office, you're going to be able to battle through that and face it because you've already got this forward momentum in your day. But yes, but the night before, anything you can prepare for success in the morning and eliminate the mind having to think about it. And the first thing I recommend to people is always drink a full glass of water when you wake up, right? Because the longest part of your day you go without water is at night when you sleep, where majority of us is made up of water. Our vital organs is even higher percentage. So drinking a full glass of water, and I always coach clients and I write about in the book to have your glass of water out prepared for you, ready to go. And people are like, that's ridiculous. You really want me to fill up my water the night before? And I say, yes, because what happens if you go to that cabinet, there's not a clean glass. You go to the dishwasher, somebody didn't close the dishwasher fully to turn it on, and there's no glass of water. Your mind will say, you know what? This is too freaking hard today. I'm not doing it. I'm going back to bed. And it'll take the easy way out every single time. So as much as you can prepare, get set the night before, you're going to feel in control when you wake up, and you're going to be able to bang out these quick wins and get that forward momentum.
Now, I just have to add one thing because I did do exactly what Jeff said. You know, the night before I put a glass of water on the counter. I came out the next morning and the glass of water was only 3/4 full. Now, I know they always say, you know, always look at the glass is, you know, 3/4 full versus 3/4 empty. But I had to ask myself, where did the other quarter go? Well, I have kitty cats.
Yeah.
And the kitty cats love water at night too, because obviously they don't sleep at night. They just drink all the water. So if you have cats, be careful about leaving your glass of water on your counter because you might wake up with a glass half full or half empty.
Yeah, I recommend a closed glass, BYOB.
There you go.
There you go. I'll have to take that one on. I'll try that.
Yeah, somebody mentioned in the comments their cat was drinking it as well. So I fill up my glass and then I put it in the closed cabinet so the cat can't get to it.
You know, and Will made a comment about Jay said that a good morning routine is like putting your armor on in the morning. And, you know, a lot of people listen to Jay Shetty. And I know there's a lot of people that talk about the morning routine, but I think, Jeff, what you did different is you put it in such just an applicable way, you know, in such an easy to read book. And your coaching is just so simple. It's, you know, all these steps. Take action number 3. Take 3 deep breaths and say out loud, it's not my fault. Can we talk a little bit about that section? Because I took a lot out of this based on my notes here. I filled up the 2 full pages it gave me. But what is this whole thing about it's not your fault?
So many of us haven't been taught, right, the proper habits and rituals to set us up for success, nor even the science of it, right? I mean, it can be up to 90 to 95% of what we do on a daily basis is driven through our habits and rituals, meaning it's on autopilot. It's like that computer, all those computer programs that run behind the scenes when you hit the power button on your laptop. And we haven't been taught that is such a high percentage and it drives so much of what we do. It's why we feel like Groundhog Day every day, or we're on this never ending treadmill of life. So that's one piece. The other piece is we've been lied to. We've heard 21 days to make a habit, right? Comment in the chat if you've heard 21 days to make a habit. Say yes if you've heard that, right? 21 days to make a habit. Well, it's actually, neuroscience has proven out it's anywhere from 21 to 67 days. So imagine if you go to take something on and say, hey, it's New Year's, let's say it's a New Year's resolution, I'm going to start working out. Once I get 3 weeks in, 21 days, I've made it. Well, that's really when you bear down and you need to keep pushing, and it can be 3 times that. So it's not your fault that you haven't had that information or you've been, you know, necessarily lied to related to 21 days. So you need to give yourself grace and you need to say, okay, you know, the past is the past. It's time to move forward. And what am I going to attack? And the foundation truly, I believe without a shadow of doubt, is how do you bookend your days? What's that last 30 minutes and what's that first 30 to 45 minutes look like? And you don't need to get up at 4 a.m. like me. If you have kids, they get up at 6:30, get up at 6, right? Back it off a half an hour. Do the things that set you up for success. I know Steven said in the morning, it's just fantastic to get some quiet time, get some work done. I love getting my morning routine done and then jumping into, you know, some work activity because there's no email, there's no phone calls, there's no distractions, and you can truly dive into it.
I love that. And, you know, you mentioned in your book, legendary coach, John Wooden, and John Wooden said, failure to prepare is preparing to fail. Like, that's so simple. You know, we all understand that, you know, failure to prepare is preparing to fail. So if you wake up and you don't prepare for that morning routine or what's going to happen, then you're already preparing to fail. So this morning I was already prepared to fail because I let that negativity guide me. And my whole morning was a failure. Now, luckily, it's only 1 o'clock now. I can turn that day around. But how much lost opportunity did I have this morning because I didn't prepare to win? I prepared to fail because of a post office not giving me my damn postage. So, you know, is there anything you want to talk about in Discover the Rise? Because I thought this is a great chapter in your book.
Yeah, so the rise, I always equate the rise to the phoenix rising from the ashes, right? You're reborn, new possibilities, new opportunities each and every day. Obviously, it's preparing, and Stephen asked the question, you know, what do you do at night? Anything you do at night so you don't have to do it in the morning is definitely worthwhile doing. Getting your clothes out, getting that glass of water out. If you have kids going to school and you pack their lunches, do it at night. That's a easy activity, but so many people do it in the morning and then they feel stressed and rushed. And then right when you wake up, being intentional with your thoughts, right when you wake up, right? And Chris, you had spoke about it a little bit. Hey, what are you going to choose to say? How are you going to choose to direct your day? Is today going to be amazing, right? Imagine waking up and today is going to be amazing, and you say that out loud. Your body and your mind is going to follow. Or you could say, oh, I'm just so tired. Today's going to suck. Well, that day most likely is going to suck. So getting up with intention, asking yourself that question, grabbing that glass of water, forgetting yesterday, focusing on today and all the gifts and opportunities you have is incredibly powerful.
Absolutely. I love that. Yeah. And I've just been kind of, as you're talking, I'm just scanning through different things from your green smoothies, and the toughest battle we will ever fight is the battle within yourself. I mean, all this stuff is just golden stuff, but you gotta, it's easy to read a book and then just put it down and be like, man, that was a good book. But how many people actually take information out of the book and actually apply it? What is there like a percentage? Like, what is the percentage of people that actually apply knowledge that they get out there? Is it less than 1%?
I don't know offhand, but I know what the percentage rate is for people that sign up for a course, do a course, pay money for it. It's 6% of the people actually complete it, right? So that tells you how many people get stuck when they have all these good intentions. They want to move forward. They want to take action, and yet they don't complete it. I mean, 94% of people don't complete the task or the course or whatever they were taking on. So it's an incredibly low rate. That's one of the reasons why I wrote the book the way I did. I come from a simple, straightforward. I think we overcomplicate the shit out of things as adults and human beings. So make it simple, straightforward, and just take action.
Yeah, no, that's good. And Caroline asked, what are the 3 books again? And it's not 3 books. It's 1 book that we're talking about here. Rise, Fight, Love. That's the book right there. Rise, Fight, Love, Repeat. I think that's, unless it was, maybe I missed something about the 3 books, but that's the one we're talking about right now. Let's see. The other thing too that I think is interesting, you said 6% was the number, right, Jeff?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
6%. That's people that pay for a course, right?
Correct. Yes.
What
Correct.
about people that don't pay for a course? Wonder what the percentage of completion or application is if somebody just comes to something like this that's free, that they don't have skin in the game. I always say successful people do 2 things really well. They invest their time and they invest their money. And when those 2 things are invested, then all of a sudden you have a powerful combination. So I don't know if you know that, but if it's 6% for people that pay for something, wonder what it is for people that don't pay for something.
It's got to be under 1%, right? It's got to be really, really low.
And we made a funny video all about that. And, it's meant to make you laugh, but truth be told, like when people pay for an event, like the 3-day event that we have this weekend, it's $297. We charge that because when people pay $297, they invested their money and then they invest their time over the 3 days. We have a tremendous success rate and a tremendous application rate of people actually applying that knowledge. And I have to believe a lot of it is because it costs something. We do this wealth webinar series every single week. And I bet you're probably right. It's probably less than 1% are the ones that actually apply, because what we've found, and we've done hundreds of these things, over the years, we found that, the free events, although people love them, they show up, but a lot of people don't take action on the free ones. But when they come to the 3-day that they paid for, the 2-day that they paid for, boy, they take action on that. And then they never leave the campfire. They're always around the campfire after that. So there's something very powerful to that. And I think it just has to do with the way our mind perceives value. Cost is only an issue in the absence of value. So I guess the cost derives value. People associate, if it costs me something, there's value. But, I think one of the two of the most valuable things on this earth and things that we have cost us absolutely nothing. One of them is right in this book. It's called love. Love is free. And time, you can look at it however you want, but really time doesn't cost you anything. It's just what you determine is valuable use of your time. That is what you got to really figure out. So I don't know. Let's just keep rolling with this because I'm loving where this is going. Let's see.
Yeah, one thing, if I could bring something up, Chris, that I read in the book that I had made note of, that I just thought was really cool was a quote, I guess, by Charles Sawyer, but I think you said your mom used to send it to people, Jeff. Maybe you can tell that story, but I'll read the quote. And it says, of all the forces that make for a better world, none is so powerful as hope. With hope, one can think, one can work, one can dream. If you have hope, you have everything. And to me, like, if you just think about that throughout the day, like, I feel like that can make you overcome so much. So maybe if you could expand a little bit on that, Jeff, that'd be cool.
Yeah. And that, I appreciate you saying that quote, Stephen. It gets me emotional because after my mom passed, a childhood friend that I grew up with, she sent me that same quote, and my mother had sent it to her. Unfortunately, she was assaulted and raped and going through a very difficult time personally. And my mom had sent her that passage and she returned it to me. So it's incredibly powerful, very, very deeply emotional for me. But yes, reading that over and over again, that power of hope, right? Of things being brighter in the future, and making that choice to believe things are going to work out, and there is light after the darkness, is such a very powerful piece to the equation. So she used to have every different sticky note, post-it note color in the world, and she always used to put them up everywhere with motivational, inspirational sayings. So it's, hope is definitely a critical component to thinking about life and how it's going to be better. And that's such a powerful way to live compared to it's just going to suck, right? And today's just going to be a bad day. And each day is truly a gift that we get, right? Having this conversation today and everybody on, it truly is a gift that we get. So why not embrace it and just appreciate it?
And then, earlier we were talking about 21 days to build a habit, and you were saying it takes 21 to 67 days. What happens to most people when they subscribe to the normal 21-day routine, where they do something consistent for 21 days? Like, why is it that you're saying 21 to 67 and everybody else is saying 21? What happens there?
So they've actually, neuroscientists have taken brain scans and they can see the neural pathway of that old habit ritual that is firing at 21 days. They're almost exactly the same. And that old habit is fighting like heck to stay wired in, right? So it really varies upon what you're doing and who the person is, whether it's 40 days, 30 days, 67. But having that awareness that you're going to feel that fight at that point, where so many are perceived that they've made it at that point, right? They have that perception that, hey, when I get to 21 days, I know when you get to 21 days, you've got to bear down and you've got to prepare for your mind to battle you because it wants to stay in the path that it's used to. So having that knowledge, again, awareness is such a critical component, as we talked about that negativity principle. If you have an awareness of these things and you start to connect the dots, and I always love to tell people, hey, I'm a morning routine guide. I guide you on what's worked for me and so many of my clients, but I want you to put on that white lab coat and become a scientist and say, okay, I ate something, I feel like crap. There's a correlation there. I shouldn't eat that thing again, right? And make those connections, because it's so important to set you up for success, as well as, hardwire you for success. And having that awareness that it can be 21 to 67 days is so important.
Absolutely. And folks, like, if you're liking this stuff, there's going to be more of this at the 3-day event this weekend. And there's going to be a lot more of this at the Money Multiplier Experience event in August. So if you guys are liking this stuff, you're going to hear a lot more about this, because this is some of that mindset stuff that you're talking about. I can't remember who it was. Somebody I just saw a post when I mentioned the 3-day event. They had mentioned it changed their mindset right here. Mark said, the 3-day changed my money and asset mindset for life. So one of the things I took out of your book, Jeff, and you can see all my notes here on this one really got me. Can you tell the story of the bamboo seeds?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really in line with just putting in consistent effort, right? And I think it was Simon Sinek in his book, The Infinite Game, said consistency is more important than intensity, right? And so many times we want these grand slam home runs, we want 6-pack abs in 6 minutes, and it just doesn't happen. You just need to have consistent effort over and over again. And bamboo, you plant a seed, and if I planted it in my backyard and went out and started watering the seed, I'd be doing that for a month or two. And then my neighbor might be questioning, hey, Jeff, what did you plant? What has happened? And next thing you know, it'd be 4 or 5, 6, maybe even 6 years down the road before that seed finally pops out of the ground. But then the bamboo grows so tall in like a 6-week period. So it's just having that faith of, listen, if I'm consistent in my action, I do it over and over again, I will eventually get there. The issue is we don't know when we're going to get there. That's why so many people stop. But if you said, hey, I'm going to do this until I figure it out, until I get there, you will eventually get there.
Yeah, I love that part about the bamboo seed. And there's like a whole story in the book, about that's, really, really loved. And then you're a fan of Les Brown too. And I know you mentioned some things about him, do what's easy in life and life will be hard. What is that all about? Like, do what's hard in life and life will be easy. And, the late Stefan Arnio always talked about this, and he wrote a book, one that all of you should read if you've got the time. It's hard times create strong men. Easy times create weak men. It's kind of like his thing with the book, but it's very similar to what you mentioned in this and what Les Brown talks about. Do what's easy in life and life's going to be hard. Life, I think, and, let's talk money just because that's what I'm always teaching. And, it's been pretty easy for people to make money over the last decade, even, in the markets. The markets have just gone straight up and people have gotten complacent. I mean, just look at AMC this morning. I mean, that's just absurd. They had to stop trading on this stock because people have figured out how to manipulate individual stocks, this Reddit group, and they call it the meme. Anyway, not going there, but can we just, I didn't mean to take that down that money route, but can we talk a little bit about these two statements? Do what's easy in life and life will be hard. Do what's hard in life and life will be easy. That almost contradicts itself.
Yeah. So the point about doing what's easy, one is having an understanding of what are two of our basic core principles that our minds have. It's keep us safe and certain, right? So it wants us to stay down that easy path, right? Safety and certainty is easy because you're not challenging yourself at any stretch of the imagination, either money-wise, fitness-wise, professional-wise. So it's so easy to get complacent and to stay in that path. But that is the path of being mediocre, right? And not stretching yourself and not getting out of your comfort zone. And when you have to do hard things, one, the mind makes those things out to be so much harder than they truly are, right? And I'm sure you've experienced this in the past. Maybe when you tried to take on a hard task, you procrastinated for a bit on it, you took it on, you did it, and then all of a sudden you were like, wow, it wasn't that hard. So, pushing yourself out of that comfort zone is so important. One of the ways I love to do it is push myself physically, right? When you push yourself physically, the mental rewards are tremendous. Back in March, I don't know if anybody on here is a David Goggins fan, but I did the Goggins 4x4x48 run where I ran 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours. And I had run at that point 8 miles tops in like a weekend, and I'm not a big runner. But I said, I want to challenge myself physically and more mentally to put myself through it. And it was just such an amazing, hard thing to do. But imagine once you do something hard, you can pull from that over and over again. And when stuff pops up, I go back to that experience and say, I can do this, right? I ran 48 miles in 48 hours. So it's if you can get in that mindset of, all right, I've got a question. Should I do this or shouldn't I? And your mind's telling you that is the signal that you absolutely should do it and you should move forward.
Yeah. And,
I love it.
That is awesome.
And it's amazing. You're absolutely right. Like when you do something that challenges you to the point where you think you're going to break or there's no way you can do it, you can think back on that when you face other challenging circumstances. And you're like, if I did that, this should be no problem. And you're able to push forward and make things happen. I mean, I ran a marathon, 26 miles in 4 hours. And I'm not a runner either. Like it's not my thing. The longest I'd run prior to that was a half marathon, and the training leading up to the marathon was 10 miles was the longest I ran. So I had no business running 26 miles that day, but I did it. And it was purely through mental pushing. And that was about, that was a year and a half ago now, but I've thought back on that day now I can't even tell you how many times since then, and that's gotten me past other challenges and other, hurdles that I faced. Like, man, how am I going to do this? I think back on that, and then boom, you're pushing yourself past it. And this 3-day this weekend is a great example. Like, nobody wants to sit in front of a computer and listen to Chris, myself, and all these experts talk about success and talk about how they can be better in life. Like, nobody wants to listen to that for 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. 3 days in a row. Like, that's not an enjoy. I mean, yes, it's great because it's going to set you up for the future, but in the time, it's like, there's so much better things I could be doing with my weekend that are more enjoyable, not better, but more enjoyable things I could be doing with my weekend. But guess what? Going back to the 5% and 95% of people are going to say, it's not worth it to me to spend that weekend. And those 95% of people are going to get those same results through their entire lives. That's why there's always the 1%. There's always going to be the 5%. That's why it just, no matter what happens in life and history and the economy and the world, it's always going to revert back to that, because it's human nature and psychology, right? I'm sure you wrote a whole book about this, so you can tell us, but it's just, to me, again, just looking at the overall picture, and it just makes so much sense.
Yeah. And Stephen, that was a great point to calling on past victories or even past pain. And I'll share a quick story to the audience. After the night my mom passed, it was a Sunday, and it was late Sunday night. And unfortunately, we got the second crew from the funeral home, and I'm the oldest of three. I was up there, helping them, making sure everything was set. And I saw concern in their eyes, and they were two gentlemen in their late 70s. And I asked them, I said, what's wrong? And they said, we don't know if we were able to carry your mom down the steps. I said, I'll do it. Let me ask my brother. And that night we carried my mom down in the dreaded black bag and put her on the gurney and got her out of there. But when I was running that Goggins race at 3 a.m., I'm by myself running 4 miles in the pitch black. I recalled when my mind was saying quit, I went back to that moment of carrying her down the steps. I said, there's no way I'm freaking stopping. Right. And when you can call upon those experiences and use them as power, whether it's something you got through that was tough or a very painful experience, you talk about jet fuel to what you're going to accomplish.
Yeah. It's amazing how much success is pulled from individual circumstances and situations that you occur throughout life. I mean, you hear so many successful people that started with literally zero in the negative, and they built empires out of that. And I think a lot of that is just the drive, like understanding like, hey, there's so much more out there, and I know I can do it if I just go after it. And it's so much mental. And I mean, they're like with our 3-day training, and I don't want to keep referring, but it's just in my mind because it's coming up this weekend. So it's all I'm thinking about right now, because we do impact so many lives during this 3-day training. But we don't, I don't always think of it that way, because a lot of times we'll just talk about success, or we'll talk about like mindset and motivation, but it's all related and it all comes back to money. Like Chris said, I hate to keep going down the money path, but you need to have the mindset right. You need to have that morning routine right. You need to have the night before right before you can create. Chris talks a lot about what separates successful people and non-successful people, and it's conformity versus creation. So many people just want to conform and go along with everything, and not many people want to go out there and create. And like you said before, it's because of that path of least resistance. It's so much easier just to go with what's easy as opposed to go face your fears, face your challenges, and overcome them. And it's just, so much of it is mental. And that's why I love stuff like, fight, love, repeat, just because it gets into that mental aspect. And that's the baseline for everything.
Yeah, it truly is. That's the battle. And that's the enemy that shows up every day of the week and twice on Sundays. It knows your weaknesses. It knows those points where you're going to feel like you should stop, and it's going to try and exploit them. And when you know that, that's incredibly powerful. It's one of the reasons why I do cold showers and ice baths every single day, right? Where my mind is telling me there's no way up in the Northeast part of the United States in midwinter, or am I going to step into an ice cold shower? Well, I tell my mind, nope, I am doing it, and you are following me. And that gives just tremendous forward momentum.
Absolutely. I want to do something here. How many of you are Top Gun fans? Jeff, you remember that movie Top Gun? Tom?
Oh, heck yeah. Heck yes.
Yeah. Are you a fan?
I am a fan of it.
Steven, do you like the movie Top Gun?
Hell yeah, absolutely.
I got a unique story that I want to talk about. One of my mentors told me this the very first time. But before I tell you the story of what Scott Duffy told me, I had to see how many Top Gun fans we had. But before we do that, I wanted to make sure that we all got in the mood. So we're going to play this.
30 plus years of service. Combat medals, citations. Only man to shoot down 3 enemy planes in the last 40 years. Yet you can't get a promotion, you won't retire. Despite your best efforts, you refuse to die. You should be at least a 2-star admiral by now. Yet here you are. Captain. Why is that?
It's one of life's mysteries, sir.
So I'm going to stop it right there. It's one of life's mysteries. And the reason I wanted to play that is not just because that is just a badass movie. And I haven't seen the new one, but it brought me back to what we were talking about earlier, you know, things being easy and then life is hard. And, you know, you do the hard things and life is easy. How many of you think landing an airplane like that, a jet, on an aircraft carrier is easy? Like, how many of you actually could do that? Like, mentally, physically, could any of you like literally get behind, even if you knew how to fly the jet? How many of you would have that thing inside you that said, yeah, I can land this thing at a couple 100 miles an hour on that little deck while it's going up, down, side by side, you know, in rough seas? Because to be honest, I couldn't. But you know what? One of my mentors' biggest, like, you know, bucket list things was to actually fly in a jet and land on an aircraft carrier, because he said it's one of the ultimate things that would test nerves. So he actually paid to do this and got the opportunity to go out on an aircraft carrier and go up in one of those jets. And I remember he's sitting on, and I'm just going to tell the story the way he does, because it's very relevant for money and what Jeff's talking about. But he's sitting on the deck of this aircraft carrier thinking, man, are these waters always this rough? The aircraft carrier is going up, down, and, you know, he's on this giant ship, and he's like, that just doesn't feel like it should be this rough. Maybe we shouldn't go up. And then all of a sudden, you know, the captain says, you know, your pilot's going to be meeting you right out here, so just stand here. And he's waiting for this very decorated, you know, pilot to come out, and out walks this kid who literally looks like he had just turned 16 years old. And he's, you know, Scott's looking around being like, oh, this cannot be the pilot. This must be the guy that, like, you know, just kind of welcomes me and kind of tells me the pilot's name. And the guy comes up and shakes his hand and says, you know, I'm Sergeant such and such. And, you know, and maybe I'm getting the titles wrong, but, you know, are you ready? And Scott says, ready for what? He says, we're going to fly and we're going to land this plane on this ship. He said, wait, you're the pilot? And he said, yes, I'm the pilot. And instantly Scott's scared out of his mind. He's like, okay, like, I thought I was going to get this, like, very well-known, like, you know, older pilot. And anyway, they get in the jet and he's scared out of his mind. And then they take off, which is exhilarating. You know, they just full throttle, head back, and they're flying around. And, you know, when he's up there, he's talking to the pilot and he's saying, so, you know, like, what are the chances of, you know, us not being able to land on that deck with these rough seas? He said, chances are high. And Scott's thinking, okay, well then what? And he says to the pilot, he says, so, you know, how many times have you done this? And the pilot just says enough, and didn't make him feel good. So they're coming around, and the pilot's kind of briefing him on landing this jet on this aircraft carrier. And he says, listen, we're going to come in really hot. The plane's is going to be turbulent. The plane's going to be moving around. Then we're going to slam the plane on the deck, and we're going to hope that we catch that tripwire. But if we don't, I'm going to say brace, and I'm going to pull the plane back up in the air, and we're going to circle around and doing that. And Scott's thinking, okay, you know, how many times do you hit that cable the first time? And he says, not very many. So Scott's scared out of his mind. Again, they're coming in, and, you know, all the things the pilot said, the plane's all over the place, the ship's moving, Scott's freaking out. Remember, this is his bucket list. This is what he wanted. This is that hard thing. And the pilot goes in and they hit the deck, and the pilot says, brace. And he's like, oh my God, we're not going to make it. They pull back up. They did that 3 times, circled back around, came back in, hit the deck. The pilot would scream, brace, and Scott would brace. Now, at that point, can you imagine how white your knuckles would be from bracing? And then finally, he lands, they catch the wire, they stop, he gets out of the plane, and the pilot said, see, I told you. He said, I said this isn't easy, and it never is. And I didn't get the story right. Scott does it way better, but like, think about that. Like, there are people out there that run 4 miles every 4 hours and do things like David Goggins and like Jeff do. There's people that land planes on aircraft carriers. That's hard. But you know what? They build a habit, they build up a tolerance, and they just get used to it. Well, everything in life is like that if you think about it. First time you rode a bike, the first time you drove a car, the first time you learned everything, it was hard until you did it again. And you developed a pattern, you developed a habit, and you developed a mindset. And then all of a sudden in life, we had pivots happen. Last year, one of the biggest pivots in many of our lives. We had to relearn things all over again, do things differently all over again, not because something that was in your control, but something that happened completely out of your control that affected everything in your life. How many of you can relate with that? I totally butchered that story. I thought I was going to do that way better, but Scott knocks it out of the park. But the way he tells it is so much more impactful. But I hope you guys enjoyed that, because like that right there sums up the story about, if about life being hard and everything. I don't know. I'm just rambling. Jeff, save me.
No, I would say, Chris, to your point, one other piece to whenever you're trying something hard, or let's just say you're trying something new, is we have this thought process that we're going to be badasses the moment we do it. And the reality is, anytime you try something new, more than likely, you're going to suck when you do it. And just understanding that fact and enjoying the process of doing that and going through the journey can make you move and give yourself some grace and allow you to do what you want to do, rather than putting so much pressure on you to be perfect. Because we see the highlight reel out on social media. We see what people have done hundreds, thousands of times in private, and then they come out and show it. So having that understanding that, hey, I'm going to suck when I do it first couple, 5, 10, 100 times, but I'm going to get better and I'm going to appreciate the journey. Boy, that can be pretty darn motivating to have you, one, take action to move forward, and then two, just to get better, keep getting better, right? That consistency over time. And then you'll eventually be pretty amazing at it.
Yeah. And focus is something unique too. And you talk about this in your book, and I think we'll kind of wrap this part up about mindset and focus on this. That same mentor talks about his daughter, and he tells me a story on, how every time he's out with his daughter finds money. Every single time he's out, his daughter's finding quarters and dollars and fives. And he's just like, how does she always find money? Is this just something that she was born with, something she's lucky? I mean, like, who just goes out there? How many of you walk around every single day and find money? How many of you, like, no matter where you're at, when you look down, there's a penny, a dime, a nickel, a quarter? Any of you? Quite often, Colleen says. Some people said nope. How many of you actually go out there and find money all the time? I mean, literally, like, I don't care if it's on the ground. I don't care if it's at the grocery store. You open your car and you find it. Do you know what the difference is between Caroline and all the people that say Mark? Quite often, Tom said, you know what the difference is? Jeff, you know what this is, right? What is it that Scott's daughter did different than everybody else? What is it that all these people that, said, yep, I go out there and I find money all the time? Why is it some people, everywhere they go, they're picking up quarters and pennies and fives and 20s and sometimes an odd $100 bill? There's just one thing that they're doing different. There's one thing Scott's daughter did different, and there's one thing I'm going to train my daughter to do, and that is they're looking for money. That's it. They're focused on that. When they go out, they're focused on it. Like, just, you've heard this before. When you get a red car, all you see are red cars on the road. Is because you're focused on the damn red car because you have one. If you change your focus and you focus on that one single thing, like Scott's daughter focused on money. Everywhere she went, she just focused on finding money. And you know what happened? She found money every single time. Every one of you have that same innate ability to do that. You can all go out there and find whatever it is you want. It might not have to be money. Maybe it's red cars. Maybe it's red suede jackets. I don't know. Change your focus and it will appear every single time. You know, you talk about, your mom. My mom lost her mother and it was very difficult. It was my mom's best friend and everything. And I remember after my grandma died, we started finding dimes everywhere. Now, you guys can think about this however you want, but everywhere we went after grandma died and my mom's mom died, we found dimes. And this continued for years and years. And then all of a sudden there'd be like dry spells where we wouldn't find dimes. And you know what the dry spell was? It wasn't that grandma wasn't around, that she wasn't leaving dimes. The thing was, we stopped focusing on them. That was the big thing. And the funniest thing is I don't have an answer for this. I mean, maybe sometimes there's just things in life that are the mysteries, like Tom Cruise said, right? That's just one of life's many mysteries. And one of the mysteries is I can't even count how many times I'd be looking down and there'd be no dimes. And then all of a sudden I'd look back down and right there in front of me, sometimes right on my desk, there was a freaking dime. Like, I don't know what that is, whether that's just that focus thing or there's more to it, but like, seriously, like we got to sometimes think about that. And if you are not where you're at in your life, folks, financially, mentally, whatever it might be, I think maybe sometimes we got to start first and foremost with what are you focusing on? Are you focusing on the negativity or are you focusing on the positivity and where you want to go? Are you focusing on where you were a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and the bad things that happened? Or are you focusing on what you're doing right now that will change what's going to happen in the future? Because you can't control the past. It's already gone. And you can't control the future because it's not here. But you can control what you do right now. Somebody just said, I think BYOB, I always bring my best. Every day, you have to. I lose my voice sometimes because I get so excited. Steven gets so freaking excited. People just think he's just yelling. He's not. He's just so focused on where he's going that he knows that where he's going requires him to get into the groove right then and there. How many of you focus on the now instead of the future and the past? Jeff, your whole book is about this. So I just wanted to kind of get you all fired up because you know what? You know what me and Steven are focused on? And you know what Jeff's going to be focused on? This weekend, the 3-day event. Because every time we do this, we have to bring not just our best, we have to bring a person that isn't even in us yet. We have to bring better than what we did last time, the better version of ourselves each and every time. And we're going to bring it this weekend too. And Jeff's going to be there. We're doing a bonus session. I think we haven't picked the day, but Jeff's going to do a bonus session. And it's going to be different than what you just went through here. Here, we sort of just hit him with questions, kind of, went through his book, but he's going to go into a session with you at the 3-day. And we've got a ton of new speakers coming on to this 3-day this weekend. But I know some of you are going to have something else to do. You got to mow the lawn. Oh, that beer is going to get, warm in that fridge. There's something that's going to happen that's going to prevent you from showing up and giving your best self. I don't know. All of you need to figure that out. Jeff, how would we close out your session of today's Wealth webinar series? Where could they find your book? A lot of people are asking about it. And where can people learn more about your coaching programs and how you do this? And also, are you coming to the experience?
I am. I will be there.
Oh, let's talk about that too.
Yeah. So we're first the book for you mentioned the book, so they can get it out on Amazon. It's paperback or ebook. You can get it on Kindle. As far as connecting with me, you can go out to my website, themorningfire.com. You can grab a free session for 20 minutes if you want to dive in your habits, rituals, whatever. I can help you craft or maybe tweak things. I always love connecting with people that are interested in growth and want a different path, right? And that's what truly fulfills me and lights me up on a daily basis. One thing, Chris, I will mention that thought process of focusing on different things, right? The reticular activating system, the RAS. It is such a tremendously powerful thing. You brought up the cars of when you get a car, you see all those cars on the road. Our minds are the greatest filtering device in the world, right? They filter out what they think we don't need to see. So you need to focus on what you truly want. And then all of a sudden you'll start seeing those. And it's an incredibly powerful piece to the puzzle. If they want to follow me out on social, I'm out on LinkedIn, Instagram, Jeff_Wickersham. I put content out there all the time, but yeah, just grateful for the opportunity to talk shop and get into some of, what I'm truly passionate about.
I love it, Jeff. So, to sum that up right there, folks, you don't need a Brita filter for your water. You need to filter your mind to focus on the things you want and the things you need, and they will happen. No need for those Brita filters anymore. All right, Jeff. Well, hey,
I want to ask one thing real quick, Chris.
yeah, go ahead.
I heard that Jeff might be a movie star also this weekend. Can you tell us a little bit about that, or is that a secret?
No, I am appearing in a film. We had to delay recording and shooting the scene I'm in, but it might be in mid-June. So I'll let you know when it's coming out. The movie's called Seclusion. It's a COVID thriller. So yeah, kind of an interesting experience.
Very cool. Very cool. So we're working around your schedule this weekend, but yeah, we appreciate you, joining us last minute for this weekend's event. And I can't wait to hear what you got to say at the experience. And for anyone on here, definitely get the book and read through it. It's a great way to kind of wrap up the night. That's what I did, at least before bed, read a few pages. It took a couple weeks, and be ready to take some notes though. I was taking screenshots and with my phone because it was on the Kindle, but really, really, really good stuff, Jeff. So thanks so much, man. Appreciate you being here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Fantastic. Thanks, man. Can't wait to see you this weekend, and definitely at the experience in person. All right, everybody, listen, we're not done yet. Remember, this is an hour and a half. We just wanted to give you the best. Jeff gave you his best in that first hour. So now what we really want to do is we want to focus a little bit on some of the things that we just talked about. Whether it's that reticular activating system, that thingamajigger, that thing that you got in you, that's that powerful filter. I want to talk again about each one of you. You have to understand that it's one very important thing is you have to decide, who are you? Are you a conformer or are you a creative? And we literally sometimes I feel like we got to take an audience, we got to draw a line in the sand, and we got to say, okay, all the creators, I want you on the left side. And then all the conformers, I want you on the right side. And I'm not saying there's good or bad on either one of these, but I need to understand who is who. How many of you listen to what other people tell you to do, even if it just doesn't feel like it's right for you? How many of you have done that? Be honest with yourself. I mean, there's just like, even if you don't want to say something in the chat, I want you to be honest with yourself. Do you conform to what other people tell you your life should look like, your job should look like, what you should do, what you can and can't do? Or do you go out there every day and try to create the life you want, even if it's in the confines of something that you don't so much like? Let's take this, for example. Maybe you're in a job that you don't like, okay? Maybe, it's not what you see yourself doing. Do you go to work every day upset that you're at that job, count it, trying to get the hours to go by as quick as possible? Or do you go to work every day, even though you don't like what you do, thinking this is just a stepping stone to get me to the next place, and make the best of that job by focusing on the one positive thing? Maybe whatever you do. I mean, I'm trying to think of like the worst job. Maybe you work for a trash company or a waste management company, and you're on the line sorting through the recycling bin trash, and then along comes, a dirty diaper that someone put in that recycling bin. Like, that would be a pretty crappy job. But you know what? The one thing you could do is you go to work every day knowing that these bad things are going to happen, knowing that it's not the best job, but knowing that this job is a stepping stone to get to the next place. And the one good that you're doing, not for yourself, but for everybody else, is that you are helping recycle materials that normally would end up in the ground in a giant landfill. So like, if you just focus on positive, I don't know where that one came from, but that just seemed like a pretty crappy job. So if that would be your job, would you go there mad every day, upset, thinking, how do I quit this job? How do I end this? Or would you go there every day thinking about the positive and thinking about what the next step is and how that job's going to help you get there? So that's the difference between conforming and creating. Because the conformer just listens to all their coworkers saying, oh, I hate this job, thinking, oh, I should just, collect unemployment and just sit home like everybody else. The creator's like, you know what? I'm gonna come here every day. I'm gonna focus on the positives, and I'm gonna focus on where this job is gonna get me, because I just need to get over this hump to get to that next level, and then I'm gonna be there. You guys can go take your unemployment checks. I'm gonna focus on what I'm doing today to get to that next step. So that's the thing. There you go. What clothes hospital janitor. I mean, there's lots of bad jobs.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely got to surround yourself with the right people too, because it's so easy to have everyone else yapping in your ears, what you should be doing, what the right thing is to do. work work the safe job, don't follow your dreams. I mean, I've experienced that, Chris, a couple times in my life. I talk a lot about how I, as a financial advisor out of college, I got into real estate investing. I've traveled the country, teaching, training, working with students one-on-one, implementing all the strategies and techniques that I've learned that we now teach. But along the way, over those 14 or so years, I mean, I failed a couple times to the point where I had to give up my entrepreneurship and go get a job just to pay the bills. And so I wasn't, so I could actually afford to pay for my house, to pay for a car, things like that, where my businesses just weren't cutting it. And I had to go get a job. And just to give you one quick example, the last time I was working a job, I'm always have things on the side going on because that's just how I am. But when I was at my job, I happened to excel pretty well at it just because I am a hard worker and I need whatever I got to do, I'm going to go out there and do. I don't care what it is. And before I go to that story, something I learned years and years ago, right when I got out of college, I was just working a job before I became a financial planner. But this guy told me, he was an older guy. He was like in his 70s. He had worked his whole life. And he said, listen, Stephen, because there was a lot of people that were complaining about the pay and how much they were making and the hours working and stuff like that. He goes, listen to me, Stephen. He goes, this is probably the best advice I can share with you. If you are willing to go and accept $1, any amount of money, I don't care if it's $5, I don't care if it's $5,000. If you accept any amount of money from somebody else, you give them 100% of your effort, no matter what that money is. You give them 100%. Just because you're getting paid less than what you feel your value is, you don't give them that amount of effort. You give them 100% no matter what. And that's always stuck with me. That was probably 15, 16, 17 years ago. I'd have to think back on it. But when I heard that, and it's always stuck with me, and I've always done that. Like if I accept a position and I accept $1, I'm going to give you 100%. And the reason why I think that carries over is because when I was working my last job, before I started working for myself again, this was probably 7, 8 years ago now. I was there and I was doing well. Like I was giving it my all. So I was accelerating. I was moving up. I was managing and I had a whole team be under me and all this stuff. And I had another opportunity pop up where I could partner with somebody and get back into working for myself. And so I sat down with my manager, I sat down with my team and I was like, listen, guys, here's the opportunity that I have. And every single one of them told me I'm crazy. They're like, you're going to give up the last year and a half of your life that you've worked so hard to get to where you now are with this job, to where you're going to, what's possible for you, the opportunities. You're going to give all that up. And they thought I was crazy because they never had that mindset of, hey, there's something more out there than what this job is. And I said, listen, guys, and I gave it a week of thought and I met with them a week later. And I said, I hate to do it, but I'm going to leave. Like I'm going to go and I'm going to pursue this new opportunity. Even though it was less money, even though it wasn't guaranteed, even though I could have completely fallen flat on my face. But guess what? That's what I wanted to do. Those were my dreams were leading me. And I decided to go for it. Was it easy? No, it was very, very hard. And I had to work 60, 70 hours a week for a long time to get to the level of success that I wanted. But you have to follow your dreams. And what allows me to do that is my experiences from the past, from people like you, Chris, my mentors in the past that always told me, listen, you can do what you want to do in life. You can be what you want to be, but you have to follow your dreams. But the dreams are not it. There's a lot of hard work that's involved on top of that. So I just wanted to share that story because I don't talk too much about my personal, situations and stuff like that too often, but we all face different obstacles. It's how you overcome those and what you do next. And again, I'm just super excited for this weekend because I know the people that are going to be attending, it's going to change their lives. And how do I know that? Because we've now done 7 of these virtual Money School Essentials courses, and every single one of them, the people email, call, and text us afterwards and tell us how much it's helped them and tell us how much it's changed their financial future. So I know it will for every single one of you as well this weekend.
Absolutely. And I'm going to have Stephen put up the link for this weekend's event, the 3-day essential training, because you guys definitely need to be there. But with what Stephen was just saying, I'm reading, everybody's messages. We're really not getting into a whole bunch of stuff here, in terms of money. We're really focused on the mindset, because mindset sometimes, money mindset is equally as important. Remember, like the money multiplier, right? Let's take our foundational thing that we teach. We teach people how to take back control of their money and how to solve their money problem by changing just one thing, adding one step, right? Sounds super simple. If I went out there in front of a loudspeaker, in front of a crowd of 100,000 people and I said, you all want financial freedom, you all want to be in control of your money, all you need to do is change one thing. How many of you can do that? That crowd would roar. I'd feel like I was Van Halen or Def Leppard in front of a stadium. But then when it comes down to it, if it's just changing one thing, how come not everybody does that? Right? Why doesn't everybody just change one thing? Just change where their money goes first so that they can benefit from the perpetual tailwind of uninterrupted compound interest. Why is it that not everybody does that? Very simple. A lot of the people don't believe it's real. They think it sounds too good to be true and they let it stop right there. A whole bunch of people, you let somebody get in their ear and they listen to the naysayers, the broke ass brother-in-laws saying, oh, that's a scam. That's not real. There's no way it can work that way. And they never go any further. And then some of them, because it's so simple, they actually don't do it. They literally think, wow, if it's that simple, then they just don't take action. But there's a lot of reasons why people don't do things. And there's a lot of reasons why people don't attend the 3-day or the free trainings. And I think it all comes down to what I said about drawing that line in the sand, conform versus create. There is only so many people on this planet that are creators. And there are way, way, way more, obviously 5% versus 95% that conform. And, you know, like you were telling your story and I was thinking about, as you're telling that whole story, I'm thinking about when I was a young aspiring pro snowboarder. There's this resort, Kissing Bridge. I always went there. I loved it. And I'll never forget, there's this guy, I don't even remember his name, but he was a maintenance worker. All he did is worked on I'm forgetting what they're called, but you know, the groomers, he worked on the groomers and the snowmobiles and all this stuff. And he was always behind the scenes, always had, you know, dirty overalls on, big, thick glasses, wore this kind of hat with like, you know, looked like it had rabbits behind his ears, you know, one of those guys, just kind of your rough, you know, looking kind of guy. But this guy, the reason I took note of this guy is he had this red Porsche 911 Turbo. And he drove this car every time when it was nice. And I remember he'd always park it right over by the maintenance shed. And I'm just thinking to myself, I'm just like a young kid snowboarding. And I'm like, this guy, like, and he was always happy. He was always smiling, always walking around. And you know, I didn't know what gives. Like, he's a maintenance worker. How does he have this beautiful 911, like, which I had one of those on my wall as a kid. I'm like, how does this happen? And like, what is he doing? Did he inherit money? Well, I later in my life found out what it was. He didn't inherit money. He came from very, very humble beginnings. But what he did is he set his goals on having that Porsche. And he saved and he saved and he saved and he bought that Porsche and he took really good care of it. He still has that Porsche today. He still is a maintenance guy today. And every day he comes to work loving his job, loving his life. I don't know much else about him besides that car that he had, but you know what? Like, think about that. If he can find that much serenity, actually, I will tell you, I do know something about him today. He's a multimillionaire. He's not a multimillionaire because he's got lucky or inherited money. It's because he saved and saved and saved and lived very simply within his means his entire life. I mean, you got to remember, I'm 43 and I was an aspiring pro snowboarder back when I was in my early teens. That's a long time. And he just saved. And the president of Kissing Bridge, who's a friend of mine, told me he's a multimillionaire now. Multimillionaire. Like, how many multimillionaires do you know that don't look like multimillionaires? You know, how many of them wear just t-shirts every day and hats and have scruff? You know, how many of them don't wear suits every single day, right? The millionaire next door, they drive the F-150, probably even got rust around the back, you know, fender walls, because all those damn Ford F-150s rust around the rear fender walls. I don't know why, but think about that. Like, happiness isn't because of the things or all the money you have. Happiness is what you make of life, the mindset. Change one thing and it will change everything. That would definitely, certainly give you a good start to being happy, because happiness comes, you know, from the control aspect. I'm going long on that, but what did James say here? My professional failures used to get me down, and I realized that my success in my personal life was worth so much more than anything I could achieve in my professional life. So I shifted my focus to my personal life, and I'm so much happier. I didn't read that message before I just said that, but it sounds pretty familiar, right? I wonder how many times that happens. Stephen, what do you have to say about, I mean, you kind of already just did that.
Yeah,
there you go.
It really is. I mean, mindset is so much, and, you know, it was here like work smarter. And I actually was I have a 5-year-old son, and my wife was getting him ready for like the shower and pre-bed routine and stuff last night. And I don't know exactly what she was trying to get him to do. But all of a sudden, all of a sudden I hear him yell across the room at her. He goes, "Mommy, you have to work smarter, not harder." I was like, "What?"
Oh my goodness.
5 years old. So it's one of those things that, we can definitely instill in kids from a young age, but I do believe that mindset is everything. I saw Aaron's comment just now. "Thanks for this call. I have to go to a closing selling a rental property. Woohoo. I wonder where I got that idea from." If you guys have been following our preview events, or you've been to our 3 days, we talk all about where the market's going, what's happening. So that's someone, Aaron, one of our members, students that's been around now for probably well over a year, been following us, been to multiple 3-day trainings, but he's simply taking advantage of this high market that we're in right now. He's cashing out and preparing for what's coming next in the next year or two. So
I got to read this and Steve, don't say anything about this. I want every one of you that are here on this training, I want you to listen to me carefully, and I want you to respond in a chat for this individual, because this is a very common misconception. So listen up, all right, everybody. I want every one of you that this relates to comment. Can you all do that? Say aye. Okay, if you can do that, if you can help me with this, because this person needs your help. Here it is. Jim said, "I'm 61. Can this seminar help me with money, as I am already retired and I need financial planning assistance with what I've saved?" What is the answer, audience?
A lot of those are just the panelists, but every single one of them is yes, 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 absolutely, definitely, yes, yes, yes.
So Jim, I was going to answer that question. I was literally I started typing it, and then I thought, why would I answer this question when holy crap, when you can just let everybody on here that's gone to the 3-day answer that question. So Jim, I hope that helped. I think the answer is pretty darn clear. So most of the people that attend our 3-day are, 50s all the way to 70s. Many of them are retired. Some of them are retired and then they started their own business to fulfill what they really, truly want to do. There's no right or wrong answer. Will the 3-day change your life? Yes, but only, and I will be very clear about this, only if you show up ready to apply what you learn. And not all of it. You're going to focus on 2 things, because it's going to be like drinking from a fire hose, Jim. You're going to focus on 2 things that apply to your life and things you want help with, and you have to apply them.
Yeah. And quite honestly, somebody approaching retirement or just in retirement age is probably who we can, probably help the most, to tell you the truth, Chris, because, and you're probably the ones that need this training the most, because
what does you say behind me, Stephen?
Yeah. The retirement gamble. I always think it's the retirement gambit, though. It's the way the it's set up for people in life.
Retirement guillotine.
Yeah,
I mean, change that, but the retirement.
So yes, Jim. So absolutely. I mean, you are the ideal. I mean, I just told Chris this the other day. Really, our ideal, client, customer, student, member, whatever you want to call you guys, awesome people, is people that are at retirement, that need to protect it, because when you need that retirement money and the economy drops like it's going to, you're affected the most. You don't have time to come back out of that. You need that money right now. So if it's taken away from you in a market collapse, good luck. Like, that's what creates people working at Walmart in their 70s, because it's just, the timing wasn't there for you. If you're younger, yeah, you got plenty of time. You also have compounding on your side, and there's a lot of good things you can do. So get started. The younger, the better. But really, those of you that are at retirement age, those are the ones that really, really need to focus. Like we were saying earlier, focus, concentrate, and make those 1 or 2 changes right now that are going to make a huge impact in the coming years to come. That real estate investors we love working with, business owners. We love working with successful business owners.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about entrepreneurs the other day. I have a love-hate for entrepreneurs. I love them because they have the mindset that they want to do something better. But there's so many entrepreneurs out there that think they can just go and create a couple Facebook posts and, come up with some, MLM type business. And now they're this big entrepreneur, and that's not how it works. Like, there's so much more that goes into it. And so many people think that becoming an entrepreneur is easy, and they skip out on the hard work part. And that's why so many entrepreneurs fail and go back. Like, there's so much more to it. So I have the love and hate, because I love that you have that initial desire, but I hate how many people just fall off and don't realize they have to work hard as well. And yes, work smart, not hard. But guess what? When you're building anything, when you're creating anything, that hard work is going to be the most important aspect.
Well said. Yeah. I mean, it's, anybody here, at this office, that works with me knows that, if the toilet gets, backed up and is starting to overflow, I'm grabbing the plunger and getting right in there, and I remember there was one event that we had, I was in a suit and I don't know, something happened and the toilet was overflowing and I'm back there plunging it. To me, I didn't even think about it, right? I just lead from the front. I don't lead from the back. And could I have asked somebody else, go back there and plunge the toilet? Yeah. And I bet you a lot of entrepreneurs would have, but to me, I knew how to do it. So I just went back there and did it. It's just that mentality. That's the creation mentality. And I'm not saying that you want to, go back and always, get super excited about plunging a toilet, but would you do that? If you owned a business and you had employees that were right there, would you tell somebody else to go do it? Or would you just get it done? I mean, sounds silly.
And that's leadership, Chris. I mean, and that's going to carry down to the entire attitude that your staff has, if you have a whole team built around you, if you have employees, they're going to, if they see a leader, an owner, a manager, whatever you want, whatever they might be in your organization or what you do, if you see someone out there that's doing whatever it takes, they're picking up trash off the ground, they're plunging toilets, like Chris said. If they're doing that, how much harder do you think the people under them are going to work and be like, man, I want to be like him. I want to give him my all because I want him to be successful because he's helping me and he wants me, as opposed to somebody that's just barking, hey, go do that. Hey, I'm above doing that. Or, hey, I don't get my own coffee, things like that. The employees, the staff, the people, they're going to do this, two birds up to you, and they're not going to give a shit about you or your company. So, I mean, leadership's a big part of it. And we could probably teach an entire class just on that, Chris, but it does. It all starts from the top and it makes its way down.
Absolutely. So with that being said, folks, we don't want to keep going on and on. I think, we kind of drove it home really hard today. I think Jeff did a fantastic job. His book, is just awesome. You guys should all grab a copy of that. And you should all join us this weekend for the 3-day, because after this 3-day, I just want to be clear, there's not going to be another 3-day for at least a couple months. We're taking a little bit of a break because the only thing you're going to hear us talking about is what I'm most excited about after this 3-day. And that is the experience. We've got 22 seats left. We had 25. We now have 22 seats left, and we haven't even really started talking about it. We're fine-tuning some of the finite details of why this event is going to be one that you will remember the rest of your life single-handedly. That's why it's called the experience. It's not one that you're going to come to like the 3-day to learn. It's one you're going to come to because you want to literally leave with experiences and memories that you'll never forget. That's what the event's going to be. And here's the other thing. I'm only letting 25 people in because it's in my house. Like, the event is at my house. I've never done an event at my house. My house is sort of like my sacred area. I don't usually let people in. We don't even usually have guests over at our house. Changing that. That's something that I've always feared doing. And now I got to get out of that fear, and I'm starting to do it. So this will be the first of many events that are going to be hosted at my house, but it's very intimate. I'm bringing some of my very close friends and mentors, people that I spend thousands and thousands a month on to help mentor me, and you're going to have access to them. So get ready, folks. There's the experience. If you want one of the 22 seats, there's the link. After they're sold, we're not going to be like, oh, we opened another 5 seats. I'm sorry, but where the event's going to be at my house won't even hold more than 25.
I can share. You want me to share the link with everybody?
Yeah, please.
Okay. I know that our team is kind of working on some of the content, but it is functional.
Yeah. So the site's a bit weak right now. I got to go out and film a bunch of videos showing, what it is that you're going to get there. Right now, that's the basic format on there. So just know that a lot more stuff is going to be added to that very soon. So if you guys want to be, at the experience, which is August 28th and 29th, it's technically the 27th, 28th, and 29th, but the 27th is just a dinner for everybody. You're not going to pay for anything. There's going to be limos involved. There's going to be a beautiful limestone lake involved. And there's going to be a special thing that's going on Saturday night that I can't tell you about, but you've probably seen the movie, and now you're going to be able to meet the star that the movie was written about. That's all I'm going to say. And the rest will be divulged when you get here, if you're one of the lucky 25. So that's called the experience. Hopefully we'll see some of you there. I actually know some of you will be. And then the rest of you, hopefully we'll see you this weekend. Actually, it should be no hoping. we will see you this weekend. Have a good afternoon. And many of you will see, heck, in a few an hour and a half here for Ask Me Anything. And I did post that. Where's the link?
It's at 4:30, 2 hours.
Yeah, I put the link up though, because some people were asking for the link for the Ask Me Anything, but I did that. And then I asked a couple questions and it got buried. So real quick before we wrap today.
I got it, Chris. I can post it.
All right. Yeah. So Steven's going to post that for the Ask Me Anything, the happy hour that we're doing today at 4:30 Eastern. There it is. So get your questions ready. If you didn't get them answered here, we'll answer them at the Ask Me Anything short hours. Bring your cocktail, your coffee, your tea, or your water, and we'll see you then. So thanks for everybody for joining us for another Wealth Webinar Wednesday. We'll see you soon.
Good night.
Night.